as well. We have 3 other members who allow us to constitute quorum: Stefania Paderak, Bob Emmond, and Nicholas Kadish.
Okay, and our guests?
Our guest is Craig Summers, who's the proprietor of City Sightseeing, and I imagine he's coming in shortly. We also have Robin Buxton Potts with us, whose title has changed since I had the email introducing her to me, and I believe she is now the new Chief of Staff for Councillor Wong Tam. So welcome, Robin.
Yes, that's correct. Thank you very much.
All right. Okay.
Craig is just connecting to audio right now as we speak.
Okay. All right. Well, I'm going to get the meeting officially started. So I'm just going to, I guess, reiterate now that Jeremy's joined us. It's great to have everybody on again. Again, we had hoped that we'd be able to do this in person, but this is the next best option. So I hope everyone's had a good summer and a safe summer with your families and your businesses. From sort of meeting standpoint, similar to our last meeting, during this declared state of emergency, meetings for Yonge-Dundas Square are being conducted by electronic means. And so we're participating remotely. Taylor, again, I don't know if we need to pass the motion or just notify everyone that we're doing this, because I know that it was dated as of today.
It's dated as of today, and on the assumption that we will pass the motion. The board does need to approve it. Okay,
so everyone received that motion. So if and unless somebody would like me to read the motion, I think everyone got it. I'm just going to ask for someone to propose a motion to approve the amendment for our meeting constitution to amend the Board of Management for Yonge-Dundas Square constitution to extend remote electronic participation in board and board committee meetings beyond the period of emergency. So would somebody like to propose that motion?
Hi, it's Bob. Motion to approve.
Thank you, Bob. Second?
Jan.
Thank you, Jen. I'll just say either if you want to go to your thumbs up, reaction is for like that.
Yeah. May I just ask for a point of clarification on the electronic?
You can, yeah.
In the past, during the state of emergency, the electronic meetings were, the contents were reserved for urgent and critical items only. Given this is more of a long-term solution, is it more business as usual at this point, or is it still urgent items only?
I would say urgent items only, but I mean that we have to, I guess we have to qualify what's urgent versus important versus stuff that could be deferred.
Yeah, there hasn't been any clarification on that being provided to me, Stefania. The request to have us only deal with urgent items came from the city clerk's office originally. This document is just a document to allow us to continue proceeding beyond the state of emergency. But my understanding, and this document came from city legal, so it came from two different parts of the city. But my understanding is that the urgent items only request was specific to meetings held during the state of emergency. So I'm extrapolating a little bit when I suggest that we can deal with items that are not urgent matters during this extended period. But it continues us to allow to meet remotely during that period of time.
Thank you.
I would say as well, Stefania, that I think what we try to do with this agenda is make sure that anything that's on the agenda would be considered urgent / important. I don't see us running out of time to discuss the urgent matters. So, again, there is obviously there's a guest that's joined us today, but we consider that to be urgent, important as well. So I think we're trying to manage the time as well as we can.
Thank you. For my purpose, it's just a informational for moving forward.
No, and I think it's a fair question because I do expect that we're going to probably be under this, under these circumstances for the short term at least. So we'll see. Okay, thank you for that question, Stefania. So we have a motion on the floor proposed by Bobby Munn, seconded by Jan Daly Mollenauer. So if we could ask everyone to do the thumbs up, thumbs down, rather than the eye. So just do your thumbs up and we'll do the vote that way.
No, these are my books. These are requests. You see them
Okay. And I'm not hearing any abstentions, but I'll ask if there are any abstentions. And if there are no abstentions or opposition, then we'll move to pass the motion. Okay, thank you very much. So I'm just going to do a quick update, just a quick update before we get into the Aboriginal land acknowledgement. Since our last board meeting, the general manager has remained in contact with our key city agencies and partners. Staff has remained in daily contact with our clients and suppliers to keep them updated. Taylor did send a briefing note on August the 5th. And so we want to make sure that everyone, you know, has received that information and knows that that's the way the business has been conducted. Also, if you know, if everyone today, if there's anything that is not on the agenda that you consider to be urgent and you'd like to have it added to the agenda, please let us know. We've done roll call. We're being recorded on YouTube, as you all know. And now that we know we officially have quorum, I'd like to call the meeting to order. In terms of additions to the agenda today, not so much an addition, but there was a document that was distributed this morning by Jan. So hopefully everyone received that. If you did not, please let us know and we can ask Jan to resend it. And as I did mention, between myself and the secretary, we did approve the in-camera minutes from the June 18th board meeting, but they were not distributed. So I apologize for that. I'll make sure that we resend those and we'll address those, or I would ask you to review them and we'll approve them at the next board meeting. And again, welcome to our guests today, in particular, Robin from Councillor Wong Tam's office, who I had a chance to chat with about a month ago and who took over from Lorraine Hewitt, who, as you all know, was a really good supporter of ours. And Robin is going to be taking her place. And as Taylor said, she's now chief of staff. Robin, I don't know if you want to just maybe take a minute or two just to, you know, let people know about your role. I believe you're going to be, there may be somebody replacing you in your previous role and maybe our contact person in the future, but for now you're going to be that person.
Yeah, so yes, I took over as chief of staff from Lisa sort of mid-August. With everything at the Bond Hotel, I have sort of decided to keep carriage of the Yonge-Dundas corner just because I'm the most familiar with it in the office. So it is possible that in the new year, the staff representative will change, but I wouldn't expect that to change before the new year.
Okay.
So I look forward to continuing to work with you guys.
Okay, great. Thanks very much. Before we get started, I'd also just want to ask if there's anyone who's got a conflict of interest today regarding any of the agenda items.
Mike, I'll just note that I'm not going to be declaring one because I don't see sponsorship on the agenda, but if it comes up.
Stefania, we're used to you doing that.
I know, that's why I mentioned it.
Thank you. Thank you. Yes. Okay, that's great. We'll duly noted that there isn't, but
Doesn't
we know that there isn't. That's right. Thank you for that. Okay, I'd like to now read our Aboriginal land acknowledgement. We acknowledge the land we are meeting on or discussing, but we're all meeting on it independently, is the traditional territory of many nations, including the Mississaugas of the Credit, the Chippewa, the Haudenosaunee, and the Wendat peoples, and is now home to many diverse First Nations, Inuit, and Métis peoples. We also acknowledge that Toronto is covered by Treaty 13 with the Mississaugas of the Credit. Okay, we've passed I guess we already passed the meeting for holding the meeting in electronic format, so we'll move past that. I didn't hear, by the way, I just want to clarify, were there any other items that anybody wanted to add to the agenda? I didn't hear or see anybody indicate, so I'm assuming that there aren't, but I'll just ask one more time. Okay, thank you. So number 3 on our agenda item number 3 is city sightseeing, and we want to welcome Craig Summers, who's the proprietor, from our longtime partner. Craig, welcome. We're glad you could join us. We're sorry we can't see you in person or meet you in person, but we're certainly looking forward to that. We hope to be able to meet you in person early in the new year. Obviously, not dissimilar from our other key partners, such as Outfront Media. You know, we've all been impacted by the market conditions and the health and safety issues that are impacting the city and the province and the country. And we thought it would be good timing to invite Craig to come and talk to us, not only about the business, but how we can hopefully help and assist as a partner moving forward. And I know that Taylor has provided us with an overall update that, you're going to be relaunching the business, if not very soon, then in the near future. So Craig, we welcome you all, and we're looking forward to sort of hearing an update from you on the business. And please feel free if there are any questions or comments in terms of how our board can assist you. We're all very interested in doing that. So Craig, I'll turn the floor over to you.
Great, thank you. Morning. Obviously, I'm Craig and from City Sightseeing, partner with the Square, and yeah, it's an interesting year for us. 23 years of business, and I think I worked more this year than ever. Where we're at, we're opened, not on the tour front. We're operating for the Toronto film industry. We're exclusive partners there, and they've opened up. In regards to the tour business, we are working through, and I guess we're playing the role of wait and see. We're working with the Ontario Tourism Ministry and the Premier. We had a conversation with yesterday with regards to tourism and being the barometer of tourism. Right now, we're restricted with capacities to levels that are just below what makes any sense. But also the meeting yesterday was worldwide, the tour operators are 10 to 15%, and it's not sustainable. The meeting yesterday was that the image is also not ideal. Driving around with, 4 or 5 people on board. The discussion right now is to have us hold off until it appeals more, and obviously waiting to see what happens in the next this season now. It's a day by day. We're ready to go. We're wanting to go to a certain level. Obviously, we'd like to have, the numbers of the history, but building programs, and we're out there. Like I'm here at work today, and most of the crew that is here, we have laid off, and we've got people that are returning. It's a different year, absolutely. We're building products that are, possibly more suitable for the changed environment of tourism in the future. But overall, we're just working through everything day by day.
Okay. Craig, you mentioned you're building new products. Could you give us any examples of what that might look like?
Yeah, with our operation, like when we officially became partners with the Square, it was through combining the 3 operators that were in the marketplace. And that was focused solely on double-decker buses. We've expanded our partnerships with other operations, and City Sightseeing Worldwide and Gray Line Worldwide. They're building new products. Right now, we're working on an initiative of our own as a choose your own adventure exploration tour for walking tours independently, and building out content from there. It's we'll be in beta test today, and we're building new products, and obviously we're expanding our safety, but just trying to reach the marketplace. We're building a local campaign. Well, we have built the local campaign, and we've got a marketing button that we're just wanting to push. But as the season also winds down and schools start, there's a different, environment altogether at that too. So
right.
as we develop, as we are, as the whole industry kind of responds as a group, I guess we'll keep you updated on what products that will start to operate. But I think that we're going to be expanding the tour products to walking tours and other partners as well.
Okay, great. Are there any questions just from board members, just in terms of what Craig's presented, or maybe as we look forward to looking to 2021?
I'm curious, I guess, about the walking, if you could share. Should we presume that you still see Yonge-Dundas Square as a hub to
absolutely.
initiate that?
Yeah, I mean, I guess over the last couple of years, we've turned our main point from Harbourfront Center to Yonge-Dundas Square. I think the numbers would show that as well, with the exception of last year. Last year's numbers dipped slightly, mostly to do with the spring weather, and then surprisingly, the Raptors. The Raptors just ate up the hotel rooms and raised the price a little bit outside of the regular tourist market. But then following that, we started to, climb back up. But it was a slight dip from the annual growth that we had since we became official partners with the Square under the combined group. But yeah, the numbers were still strong last year. I think it was 3 years ago, there was a big jump. That was just mostly based on investments in updating our fleet and updating our product itself, multilingual audio systems, GPS, and so forth, so that we could expand to. Our goal is always to, drive more people to the business, and YDS being the hub of where, it's central, it's great, it's ideal for us. And we moved that from the Harbourfront Center, and we'll continue to push the Square for sure.
Craig, it's Mike here. I'm just wondering if there was a wish list for you, other than this current market situation going away very quickly, but if there was a wish list that that we as a group, both the YDS staff and board, could help you with, and maybe stuff you talked about with Taylor and the team in the past, but maybe not. If one or two or three things that we said, if we could do this next year or in the near future, this would make a big difference, what would that be?
Well, I mean, Taylor's always been, open to discussing that, and he's been great for that. I think that at this point, I just don't want to push any button that would start until we're actually able to fulfill and be operating properly.
Right.
I guess lots of people have approached us on putting product there that may not be directly in line with our tour products,
right?
Like PPE and so forth.
Mm-hmm.
There's opportunity, but I think that would just be kind of throwing ideas out there, and I think that it'd be just easier to go, save that between Taylor and I until that point,
mm-hmm.
And then maybe he would discuss it with you. I don't want to suggest anything until comfortable that we'd be going in that direction.
Right. I think Taylor's probably also told you, and you probably know this, that we obviously have had sponsors on the Square in the past few years, and we were in negotiation for a new primary sponsor, which obviously has been put on hold. So maybe that's something that we could, I mean, I know it's there, and we all know that we want to get back to that, but we probably anticipate that it's going to be early in the new year before we see some definitive activity. But that's something that would probably make sense in terms of having ongoing conversations with you as we, and our outside partner, because we've used an agency, talk to new partners. I suspect that there's going to be a different approach from whoever that partner or partners turns out to be. So it's something that we should engage you on as well.
That'd be great.
Mike, if I could jump in just briefly, I think from my perspective, I think that one of the challenges that the Square has as we move through recovery, however long that takes, and however it transpires. Clearly, one of the key things that we need to keep top of mind is that we need to rebuild the value proposition of getting back to where we used to be. And I think that city sightseeing is going to be a key partner for us. One of the things that I've talked with Craig about, that staff are prepared to do as soon as they reopen, is for us to use our digital capabilities to really enhance their profile and the service that they provide to the public and to use our capability of promoting city sightseeing in a way that we haven't done before. But they definitely will be a key partner for us
Right.
going forward, and I'm sure that neighborhood stakeholders would agree with that assessment that they play a key role in keeping Yonge and Dundas animated and safe and a visitor focal point.
Right. Okay. Okay, great. Are there any other questions from the board or from any of the anyone who's attending today, just in terms of this discussion?
Hey, Mike, it's Jeremy. Just a quick question for Craig about projections per phase. Right now we're in phase 3. I guess there's phase 4. And what is your kind of projection as far as, Canadian visitors versus American visitors? Do you kind of have a pro forma of what the next 12 months look like, or as we go up, not as we go, if we go back into phase 2?
Right. In terms of like with the bank, with our other partners, we've projected at 30% for the early of the next year, and that's based on local campaign. We've got a pretty robust, campaign to launch, and we've got a lot of support through our, partners, vendors, and so forth, to get riders out there. The ask yesterday through the Premier's office was to hold, and really there's a lot to do with tour operations throughout Ontario. For a bus itself, if you were to charter a bus, there's no restrictions on the capacity. If you are in a tour, our current 81 passenger buses are approved at 9. Now they're open to our being exempt to a certain level, with it being open top for one, and in working with installing other safety protection. The challenge is in our visibility and being the tour company that would be approved to be carrying more, and the others being held back. Like a 15 passenger van that's being allowed to carry 50%. That won't work for them. So the ask currently is, as of yesterday, is just to hold on and work with them, and the day by day status of what happens here, schools and so forth. But our projections are based on 30% for the launch of the season, and with open top. And then growing from there, it will return in our numbers to 50 by summer. But that is calculating in our tour boat operation as well. Without our other products, overall, they're going to be off the board, like our Niagara Falls tour and so forth. They'll be off the board for that projection. That's not including that. But overall, we're expecting a ridership to be on a bus at 30 people.
Thank you.
Craig, it's Mike here. Just one sort of final question I have, because some people may know, but some may not. What is the size and scope of your operation? You mentioned between buses and
the size and scope.
Well, yeah, just ballpark in terms of number of vehicles you've got on the road.
As of today, or as overall?
Oh no, regular.
Regularly, we'll have 60 units out there.
Okay.
And 240 employees. Tour boat company, our tour boat operation is separate to that.
Okay.
And we are in the process of that right now of building a Toronto bus compound, which will, the main focus of that is reducing the buses that are idly traveling around the city while their people are dropped off, and having a dispatch service marshal yard.
I see.
So in terms with partners that operate our other products, that number can change to say 80 buses.
I see. Okay, great. Okay, well, look, that's a good update, and it's good to hear that you're not only in touch with obviously the key partners in the city, but that you're optimistic about numbers as soon as you can reopen and relaunch and get your campaign going. And good to hear that you've been chatting with Taylor on how we can assist in working on that relaunch as well. Are there any questions you've got of us just before we wrap up?
No, I don't. I mean, no, I mean, we're all in it together, right? So
Yes,
it's
we are.
day by day.
Yeah, we very much are. And I guess that's why we wanted to invite you here. And I think this probably should be, something we should do on a regular or more regular basis.
That'd be great. It'd be great. I know of you. According to Trump, I guess he made a comment that the pandemic will be finished at the end of next month. So
I'm not sure we should minute that, but
I don't think so.
but thanks for that.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, look, Craig, thank you for joining us. We'll keep in touch, and please keep us updated through the staff team as your relaunch moves ahead.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Okay.
Enjoy the day.
Thank you, Craig.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Okay, that was good. And Taylor, thanks for setting that up. I think we'll move to agenda item number 4, which is confirmation of the board minutes from June 18th. I'm assuming everyone's had a chance to review them at one point. Just ask if there were any questions or any revisions anyone wanted to make to the board minutes. These are the regular board minutes, not the in-camera board minutes.
Just a tiny
There's no-
typo,
oh.
Mr. Chair. In the opening remarks, it notes that Ryan has started the lice feed, and I believe that should be live feed.
What page is that on, Stefania?
Page 1 in the opening remarks section. I only mentioned because it changes the meaning.
Oh yeah. Well, it may be lice feed, but I don't think we're really familiar with that. So I'm hoping you're right. Good. Well done. Thank you for that.
I'm sorry, my camera was on when she said that. My apologies.
Yeah. So with that revision noted, I would like to ask for a motion to approve the minutes for Board of Management meeting for June 18th. Who would like to propose a motion for that?
I can, Stefania.
Okay, thank you, Stefania. And second?
I'll second Jeremy.
Thanks, Jeremy. All those in favor? Any opposed or abstentions? All right, we'll say approved. Thank you. And as I mentioned, the secretary and I did review the in-camera minutes. Obviously, those are to be distributed by one of us, and we did approve them, but neither of us distributed. So we apologize for that. We'll make sure that we get those out to everybody following the meeting, and we'll review and approve those at our next board meeting. Okay, we're going to move to agenda item number 5, which is the financial report. You'll see that we have 4 reports for the months of May to August. I can just reconfirm that the general manager and Jeremy, our treasurer, have been monitoring the monthly reports, keeping the executive updated, working with Sue, obviously, on our day-to-day and week-to-week responsibilities regarding payables and receivables. Jeremy, do you have any comments before I ask Taylor just to provide his overview?
No, I think the one comment that Taylor will probably talk about is that our big focus in the last 6 months has been just to kind of monitor the ongoing efforts of the Square and the public and the government. And in the last 30 days, I know Taylor and his team has been working on the budgeting and continues to do so. But today, I think we're only going to talk about August financials, correct, Taylor?
If that's what the chair suggests, I think that there hasn't been a large amount of activity over this period of time. So I don't think that I think there is some overarching premises to the financial statements that I would point out to board members, but I don't know if it's a necessity that we look at each month by month.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I think unless anybody has any specific questions about May, June, and July, I think what we'll do is focus on August, since that's a summary of the last 4 months. And again, as Taylor said, there hasn't been a lot of activity, certainly on the on the event side, of course. So I think we'll do that. So Taylor, do you want to just provide a quick overview of the August financials, and then maybe even a quick look forward in terms of where we're headed in the next, between now and I guess the next board meeting, which is the end of October?
Yes, I'm happy to do that. Thank you, Mike. So I would ask the people, if they want to follow along with me, open up item 5D, the August 2020 financial statements. And let's go to page 2, which is the summary page. And I think all the important items for consideration are on that page. I would start at the revenue area, and I would suggest that even though we are not showing anywhere close, obviously, to the levels of activity that we had anticipated a year ago, or even in the winter, that we are still anticipating the possibility of some activity going on in the square later on this year. The city is still, there are still provincial guidelines about sizes of gatherings, which limit the ability for us to use the square. The city itself is also discussing about prohibiting themselves issuing, even though I don't think an announcement has been made yet, continuing a disallowance of issuing permits for what they refer to as mass events or public gatherings, which would generally forbid us from even considering community events if that was to be a possibility. That said, we do have some interest from corporate clients who are looking at ways that they may be able to use the square in the months ahead. And some of those details are available in the confidential event report that will be tabled in camera. So if board members want some details about the types of events and who staff are in discussion with, I would suggest that we defer any discussion about that to the in-camera portion, so that we can have a more fulsome conversation about confidential discussions that we're having with clients. That said, I would also point out that when you look at the line that forecasts a possibility of $300,000 in event support revenue, that is mitigated by the event support costs. So as I have always said to board members, it takes us 68 cents to make $1. So if we don't generate that revenue, then the event support costs don't appear as well. So there's the risk in the revenue forecast, if these events do not come to fruition, isn't $300,000, it's about $100,000. So I would also point out in the revenue side that there's an item there that says the signage revenue, which is our revenue sharing agreement with Outfront Media, that it currently says $307,500. That amount is derived from what has currently been paid to the board under our agreement with Outfront Revenue, but it does not include amounts that will be owing to us at the end of the year. So there will be an adjustment at the end of the year, but our financial statements are based on a cash basis. At the end of the year, Outfront Media will, as you recall from previous discussions, we did a temporary abatement in their payments to help throughout the pandemic. So at the end of December, Outfront Media is going to owe us half of their payments from July through to the end of December, as they've been paying us 50% of what is in their contractual obligation. Those amounts will start to be paid back as of January 1st. So there will be an accounts receivable set up at the end of the year. So we will be receiving the full amount from Outfront Media, but the payment schedule has been altered to allow them to weather the storm of the pandemic. And so that is a bit of a a bit of a misnomer when it indicates the 307,000 indicates cash received, not the contractual obligation, and that the difference will be paid up over time as per our agreement with Upfront Media. So those are pretty much the real overarching items that I wanted to point out to the board. The city continues to support us on a monthly basis. Staff provide city financial planning division with weekly reports on the impact of COVID-19. So the city is very, very aware of the impact of each event that has been canceled or deferred. They're also very aware of the impact of the closure of the sightseeing kiosk and the impact of the relationship with Upfront Media because of the out-of-home advertising situation. Although I would say that anecdotally, we have been kind of told that advertising sales are starting to revive. They're not anywhere near where they used to be, but there is an upward trend that's hopeful. So while staff are still providing the city with weekly COVID-19 impact reports, we're also doing monthly cash flow need assessments with the City of Toronto. And as an agency of the city, our liabilities remain the city's liabilities. They have been supporting our needs, and they have also been supporting any COVID-19 specific needs that staff have been recommending, including such items as the installation of hand washing stations that are up and around the square, and the daily opening of our public washrooms under new COVID-19 protocols. So the cash situation of the board is fairly stable, and it's not an item for board concern day to day or month to month. There was going to be a 2021 budget presentation that was going to be part of the financial reports for this meeting, but the city has asked all city agencies to defer those presentations until next month. So if there are questions about the financial statements, I'm happy to answer them. As I said, there hasn't been a lot of activity, but there has been some activity. We had a great event early in August, Everybody Against Racism. And that client seems to be, we're in discussions with them about hopefully returning for another similar event later on this year.
Christmas is coming soon, shockingly. I'm assuming that during the budget process that there may be some illumination around the level of support that would be available in the new year, in the January to March. If we looked at this on a rolling 6-month basis, we're starting to tuck into that window. Do you have any insight on that?
I do in the sense that the city is involved in ongoing discussions with the federal and provincial government about the city's overarching financial situation due to the COVID pandemic. And I don't know that a critical path is going to be provided to us until those discussions have moved forward. What I can say though is that in my discussions with financial planning, there has been a very clear understanding that looking to the future is that the board will be presenting a path forward, and it's not going to be a return to normal. It's going to be a long-term assessment of what we feel our financial needs will be. And as I said earlier in the discussion about city sightseeing and the value that the square provides, I think it's understood that there is a need for the square to rebuild its value proposition to return to the levels of activity that we were used to seeing before the pandemic. So it's going to be a journey as opposed to a sudden change. And I fully anticipate that the city understands that and that they will support us long-term as is necessary. And that includes also meeting the obligations set out in our relationship framework with the city. So that includes not only staging third-party events, but also producing programming that animates the square, and as we're able to do. Does that answer your question, Jen?
Yes, thank you very much. I think
Thank you.
good to have a sight line on that. Appreciate it.
It's Mike here. One other comment I'll just make maybe for the board is, although the city did defer the budget presentation, the budget request within the last few days, just to let you know, and Taylor alluded to it, but I want to reconfirm this, that the staff had gone ahead and done a preliminary budget presentation. They had not been given a lot of guidelines by the city, but had done a plan. And as Taylor alluded to it, it was more of a, rebuilding the value proposition of the square over sort of 3 years. Taylor had discussed that with the executives. So we were anticipating that preliminary plan and budget was going to be presented, because the original date of request was earlier this week. But given that the city has now deferred for a month, we're going to retain that information. And obviously, if we get more information over the next 15 to 30 days, we'll adjust the plan. But I just want to let the rest of the board know that the work actually had been done for a preliminary presentation, but obviously didn't have to do it because they had told us to hold on to it. So
I have also advised financial planning at the city that the next scheduled meeting of the Board of Management is October 29th, and they agreed that would suit their needs. So I think we should expect on October 29th that the budget submission will be discussed.
Right. Okay. Anyway, if anybody has any further questions, I would direct them to Taylor or to Jeremy.
Taylor, it's Jeremy. Just a quick question about the programming expense. The largest component of the programming expense is the illumination of the square during Christmas time. For the next, for December and for kind of the next 12 months, do you see that program changing or getting bigger or getting smaller?
So there's an inventory that has existed that is managed by Downtown Yonge, and it is an aging inventory of decorations, including the tree of illuminated globes that has been on the square for several years. We had, before the pandemic hit, been in discussions about how we could reinvent the circumstances and bring something new to the square. I think it's, at this point in time, though, it's pretty much the likelihood of that changing for 2020 is very remote, as we don't have any ability to make an investment in a new holiday decor. I think that there's some uncertainty at Downtown Yonge about what the circumstances there will be like. So I think it hasn't been confirmed 100%, but the status quo for this year is being discussed in light of the pandemic situation and the financial limitations that we have. We do have an ongoing commitment with Downtown Yonge to contribute to the cost of the maintenance, installation, and removal of the decor. And that's a commitment that we intend to honor and is part of our annual budget. And certainly the city will assist us with that.
Thank you.
So if there are any other questions regarding either the monthly budget or, more importantly, the budget process moving forward, as I said, you can certainly direct those to Taylor or Jeremy's attention, and we'll keep everyone posted. Obviously, we're anticipating now that the city will request that updated presentation in the next month, which will be in advance of our next board meeting. So if anyone has any questions or comments, please let us know. So Taylor, I guess we should propose a motion to approve all 4 of the financial statements.
And I'll make the motion, Chair.
Okay, thanks, Jeremy. So motions on the floor from the treasurer to approve the financial reports for May 2020, June 2020, July 2020, and August 2020. So the motion's on the floor. Could I have a second to that, please?
Nick seconds.
Thanks, Nick. All in favor?
Yes.
Any opposed or abstentions? No? Okay, thank you. The motion is passed to approve all 4 financial statements. Thank you for that. We're going to move to agenda item number 6, the general manager's report. Taylor, do you want to take that?
Thanks, Mike. The general manager's report doesn't today contain any action items for the board, and most of it is presented for information, but there are some big picture kind of information pieces to this that I hope may spur some discussion with the board. The first item in the report is the event report. As you can see, we did have an art installation on the square, which was Everyone versus Racism. It was really well done in the sense that you can see, if you can look at the images presented, social distancing measures were put in place by the client. They are hoping to return and do another similar kind of installation with us. The installation was supported by the use of the digital signs with ancillary video content, and it was really, really good. Unfortunately, they didn't carry on into the evening, and we're hoping that if they do return in the next few weeks and do another kind of live art installation, that not only will they extend it further into the day, but also the sun will go down earlier as well. So the impact of live video and artists working in the square with a physically distanced crowd being able to watch and take in the content, it's something that we're really happy about. We're really proud to be hosting that on the square, and it's good for everyone as far as, you know, the square being animated and the content being relevant and necessary. So we're happy about that. We're happy that we have further applications for consideration and discussion. As I said earlier, the event applications aren't really there's not a lot of community use being planned, because of those kinds of uses of the square would involve physical gatherings that are not necessarily aligned with provincial guidelines or city policies, and that's a line that we need to walk. That said, even though the city is saying that is looking at continuing along a policy of not having mass events, staff do feel that the applications that we have for the fall can be executed on the square safely, and would not involve, you know, performances or specific times for people to gather, but rather creating a focal point on the square that animates the square without attracting large numbers of people at any one specific given time. There is some information in the report also about work that staff did to keep the memory of our programming alive during the pandemic, and much of it moved online. We obviously didn't screen City Cinema this summer, but we were able to partner with a local film festival, and we promoted a short film festival over the summertime that was quite interesting and with really diverse programming. Downtown Yonge was a part of promoting that as well, and we had some really good numbers with that. Hundreds of people on a daily basis for those film screenings that were virtual. So that was I was actually surprised by the numbers of that. So that was a good outcome. The host of the gentleman who used to host Indie Fridays for us has been doing some artist interviews for people who have in the past or who might have been programmed for Indie Fridays. So basically an interview series, and we've just started launching that, and that's streaming off of our website, I believe, Natalie, or is it?
I had to unmute. It's being streamed on YouTube as well.
On YouTube, okay, yeah.
Ask a question about that.
Yes,
Taylor, it's Mike Taylor, actually, Taylor, yeah, oh, go ahead, Jen.
Are you sure?
Yep.
I was just having not taken the opportunity to view it. How is the branding for us? I mean, I assume it's not live from the square,
no.
but in terms of attributing to us, has there been some effort with Zoom backgrounds and the like to make sure that people know it's us?
I would defer to Ryan on that because his staff handled that.
Yes, in all 3 cases, though yoga was only on for that 1 week, all programs have been branded and promoted as the square.
And the socials have been from the social media has been from the square as well. And there was something else I was going to add to that, but Downtown Yonge BIA promotion has been promoting local businesses in the neighborhood as well. And there was a prize pack that went out to one of the viewers from City Cinema that went over very well. It was very successful.
Excellent. Thank you so much.
Moving forward on the event front, one of the really exciting things that I'm hoping will bear some great come to fruition and bear some fruit for us are discussions with the city's culture office about Artworks TO, which is a celebration of the Year of Public Art scheduled for next year. The city is actively working on celebrating the Year of Public Art next year. And I have reached out to them and asked that while the square is in this process of rebuilding the value proposition and looking to animate the square, that they collaborate with us in a meaningful kind of way and allow our staff to work on the Year of Public Art and also to incorporate the square into the Year of Public Art. So what this means is that while we're waiting for the pandemic to resolve, we're working more closely with the city, looking to support the city's objectives, especially the ones that are specifically aligned with public space, public art, and the animation of public space and the celebration of public space. So we're still in early stages of discussion, but I do anticipate that over the next many months that the square will become a prominent kind of hub for the Year of Public Art, AKA Artworks TO, and that we will see some kinds of installations and use of our screens promoting digital art, the work the city is doing. And it's a key way for us to continue to build the relationship with the culture office. It's a key way for us to also acknowledge the financial support that the city has been providing the board during the pandemic and provide value back to the city for the way that they've been supporting us. So staff thinks this is a win-win kind of situation. The details haven't been worked out, but we're in ongoing discussions with the culture office, and we feel really good about the progress we're making on that, and feel really hopeful that if we have a second wave, or if the circumstances of the pandemic continue for many, many more months, that working with the culture office, we can provide ways to animate the square and support the objectives of the city at the same time.
Thanks, Taylor. Any comments just on that? I know you have a couple of others. I just thought I would add my comments on this. I think both that initiative is a great idea. I think, look, at the end of the day, anytime our location is empty, it's a missed opportunity. So whatever we can do to be part of the relaunch, the reanimation for the city or for our area, I think is great. Even if it's not necessarily revenue positive, if we're assisting other city agencies or partnering, I think that's a great idea. And the second one was your comment just about the interviews that have been done on the square. I think that's something we should, I don't know how much we've taken advantage of that with Rudy Blair, but to me, I think part of our own relaunch reanimation, and as we think ahead to what more we can offer sponsors, I think more public relations through digital media is positive to let people know what is going on, because if there's no messaging or limited messaging, people don't know, and they make up their own mind about what isn't or isn't happening downtown. Yeah. So I think we should be thinking about that. I'm wondering if we have done anything actively with our primary or secondary sponsors around that in the past. If we have, great, we should probably consider doing more of it. If we haven't done it, we should probably be building it into our programming as an added value benefit. Maybe there's a feature we can offer to sponsors, more, almost like an editorial advertorial that could be part of the sponsorship package, you know, something on the square hosted by.
Yes.
So anyway, just a couple of thoughts from my end, and I would like it to open it to the floor for any comments around just what Taylor's presented to it so far.
Mr. Chair, it's Jeremy. Just a quick question
I'm assuming
about.
Everyone's on mute right now, so.
Oh. Can you hear me, Jeremy?
Yes.
Oh, sorry. The one question I had is about regular community events that normally happen at the square. If they plan to do any virtual events that the square plans to kind of piggyback on.
Sorry, I would ask the manager of events to comment on that, please.
Hi, Jeremy. Some events have gone virtual, not many of them. A lot of them have not been able to engage in that platform in a way that would give them the value that they require in order to do it. There are a few that have, and some of them have had some technical difficulties with it. It isn't something that we've offered to support on their behalf, just because the requirements they vary so much. Most of our community events are festivals, and live performance is a very big piece of that. So it would be a challenge for us to support the live performance piece. But certainly we are open to having those discussions with our community clients should that be something that they wanted to engage in with us.
Thank you. The second question I had is about movie viewing. I know that Cineplex and other exhibitors are trying to come back in a big way. Is there any plans to? I know they're right across the street, but they've got indoor issues. Or regulations. Is there kind of, I don't know if they've reached out to you or if you're interested in kind of hosting new release movies on the square, just because I think it'd be a cool space. I'm not in the exhibitor world, so I don't know what they think about that, but I know the square would be a kind of cool space to view that stuff.
I would say that in future, that sounds like a great idea. Perhaps when we know when the guidelines will and the direction from the city will allow a larger gathering to take place, and it does make sense because we're an outdoor venue, and so even though there are prohibitions on gatherings of over 100 people right now, or is it 50 people? It's still acknowledged that outdoor spaces are inherently safer than indoor spaces. So I'm sure that's something that could work for us right now. But at this point, as a city-owned property, we don't want to be engaging in any kind of gatherings that would be specific to where a large number of people would come to gather at a specific time, like a film. So the things that we're looking at in the short term are activations that would take place over a period of a whole day or a multitude of days, so that people would come and go as they please, and social distancing would be an inherent part of the public safety aspect. But as you said, I think that's one of the things that staff are hopeful for, is that when recovery does start to happen and things start to open up, outdoor spaces will be key to that. And so our preparedness to host things as the recovery process hopefully begins in the coming months will be key to that. And the good news is that we are prepared. We have plans in place not only for the safe resumption of use of our office space, but we have a comprehensive plan in place for the safe use of the venue as well.
Thank you. I know I spoke to the lead from Regal Cinema, which is not in Canada but south of the border, and I know he talked about kind of making James Bond bigger and bigger. So I don't know if the local kind of Paramount distributor would be interested in just a premiere on the square, but I'll leave it with you. Thank you, Taylor and Natalie. I know you guys are Bond fans as much as me.
Mr. Chair, if I may, I just had a follow-up question on Jeremy's first question around supporting our community partners. Perhaps in a bit more of a passive way, if it's appropriate, I might suggest that if they are doing things online, that we can support them via socials. That's, you know, we don't get to see them on the square this year, but here they're doing this thing online. We hope you'll check it out in 140 characters.
Right.
We have been doing that, and specifically, especially on the dates that they initially had permitted.
Oh, great.
Scheduled dates. There have been some socials that have gone out saying, you know, we missed this event too. Hoping to see you back next year.
Excellent. Thank you.
Good.
I would also add
Thanks for
that
that.
sorry, I apologize. To piggyback on Natalie's comment there, we've also been specifically promoting long time or interesting community festivals and events through blog conversations that have been taking place over the course of the summer. So I know that the Downtown Young BIA and Kids Fest was one of those. I believe the folks that promote or that organize the Burger Mania Festival that was on the square last year. So we've been engaged in ways to keep our clients relevant as well on the square, virtually and digitally.
If there are no further
Okay.
event-related
Thanks, Ryan.
questions, I would move along in my report to the renaming of Dundas Street. The city announced yesterday that they are engaging in a comprehensive public consultation on this topic, as Dundas Street runs from one end of the city to the other. Yonge-Dundas Square has been identified as a city-owned facility that would absolutely be impacted by this. So we are stakeholders. We are in contact with the city. I think that the report that came out yesterday, which is going to the city's executive committee, will indicate that the city plans on engaging in public consultations, reporting back in early 2021. But I believe that out of the options that were given, that the option one was do nothing has been taken off the table. So I do believe that some change will occur, whether or not it involves the renaming of Dundas Street or other kind of options such as renaming specific facilities or keeping the name but providing context. These are different kinds of options that are at play right now. We're not in a position to make a decision on this situation on our own. It is a city decision, but we are stakeholders and we will be part of the process.
And yeah, thanks, Taylor. I'm glad you mentioned that. I for the benefit of the board, I have been reaching out to some of our colleagues at other city agencies. I did speak to Chris Murray, who's the general manager, who's heading that report up. Talked to him about a month ago, and he reconfirmed, as Taylor just mentioned, that, you know, since we likely would be impacted if anything happens here, that we should be part of the process. So he certainly offered to keep us informed and updated as that process moves forward. And to Taylor's point, I know there was an assessment done. I don't know, Taylor, exactly when it was, a year or two ago, that if we were ever to get into a rebranding of the square, if that was related to maybe sponsorship or just our own desire to do that, that we had actually put we put an estimate on what that might cost. Important for the board to know that, because if it's something that is mandated rather than our choice, it is something that we would have to address from a budgeting standpoint as well. So Taylor, I don't know if you want to just mention that briefly. Or maybe it's in your report there as I'm looking at it. Yeah,
well,
it is.
I have provided that information to the city. Ironically, because when we entered into our agreement with Upfront Media, there was some ancillary design that was done, and a costing was made about what the potential future costs of rebranding the square would be. Those costs did not include the rebranding of the office and the board of management as an entity, which would be a separate cost. And it also did not include any kind of community or public consultation costs. So what we did provide the city was with the hard costs, and it was several $100,000. And I can tell the board that much. But if there is a project that takes place that would be in the six figures to rebrand the square and change the physical structure, that would not be something that would come out of our operating budget. It would be a capital budget cost. So generally, capital budget costs the funds are provided by the city and are approved independently of the board's operating budget. So I don't think there's any concern that the board would be left holding a financial liability for rebranding the square. I think it would have to be considered as part of the overarching considerations for the renaming.
Right.
Today's Toronto Star did do a feature article on renaming of Dundas. If you haven't had a chance, you can see it online. But it does speak to adding ceremonial names or plaques along the street addressing the legacy of Dundas. And it does mention Yonge-Dundas Square specifically as a potential name change.
Yeah. One thing I can anticipate if the consultations take us in that direction and the opportunity of the square to be renamed, I would imagine that would provide an opportunity for us to engage in a really fulsome discussion about what that could look like. Clearly, there might be an opportunity to tie that to a sponsorship or a naming opportunity that might be of financial value. But I think there's also, as a city-owned asset, I think that there may be more of a desire to have a renaming be an honorific kind of naming. And I'm not making a suggestion about any specific name, but I do recall that many years ago there was some people suggesting that the square should be renamed Jack Layton Square, and when Jack passed away. So I think those two options may present themselves, and it's quite a juxtaposition, one or the other. But I think that I think we should expect that those possibilities may become part of the dialogue.
May I ask, Mr. Chair, a question? It's Jan.
Yes.
I know that some degree of cost estimate has been provided to the city. I just wondered if the leadership has factored in any component where Yonge-Dundas is our legal name, and therefore the sort of ripple effect through contracts or anything where the organization is obligated, whether that's been factored into any scope of work that might have to ensue if we have to change our legal reference point.
Right. I haven't spoken to city legal about that, but there is what I did tell the city manager's office when I submitted the costing was that the amount that we estimated was specifically just for hard costs, and it didn't involve any kind of ancillary administrative or stakeholder engagement costs. So that would be above and beyond.
Yeah, because that might be, even from a resource point of view, quite a bit of work to turn that over, especially if it's.
Yes. Yeah. And I imagine that like I can't imagine all the small businesses all along Dundas Street.
Oh, fair enough. Yeah.
All of them having to engage in some kind of across the whole of the city. So again, I guess we're all in this together, and I would hope that there's going to be some consideration of all the costs that small and or large businesses would have to bear changing their own letterhead and their address and that
Yeah.
kind of thing. So
Great.
it's a huge
Thank you.
consideration for sure.
Okay. Anyway, good conversation. Obviously, we're going to have to wait for some direction from the city once that report comes out in early new year. Taylor, I know you got a couple of other items in your report to cover off, so want to keep moving?
Yes, so I think that we already touched on the deferral of the city's budget process. The other thing that's presented for information here is a bit of an update on the Yonge-Dundas project. In your board, in the report from the general manager, there is a map of the local area of what is currently being proposed. There was a final public consultation last night that I believe Ryan was a part of. I don't know, Ryan, if there's anything that you want to share about that.
The one thing that I would share, first it was a public stakeholder meeting. The majority of the time was dedicated to answering public questions. One question did arise about how people would access the square, and the consultation committee identified obviously that we are a stakeholder participant in the process, which is the case. Taylor and/or I have been attending all of the stakeholder conversations. They identified that even though gates and time restriction access to the block adjacent to the square has been proposed in this design, that special accommodations would be made, as we are an agency of the city, in order to access the square for maintenance and special events.
Yeah. So I mean, that's not indicated in the little map that the city has provided, but it has been a part of our ongoing discussions with the Yonge-Dundas team, that us being able to maintain access to the square and manage that access is critical. So that's always been an understanding in the discussions that we've had with them. I would imagine that we can say that the map that has been provided is a high level map and wouldn't include a detail like that. And I think the details on how that would be part of the drilling down process and creating more fine details in the project. But so I just want to make sure that the board is aware that those conversations have been held and are taking place, even though it's not reflected in this high level map.
I would also add, if anyone is interested in perusing the city's website on the consultation project, there are more detailed design concept drawings, block by block, that indicate gates and barriers and furniture and all sorts of things. The one element that is not included in this is the operation of any of those sections. That is an element that's going to be addressed following the approval of the design. So that would be a secondary phase if and when this design concept is approved.
Okay, thanks, Ryan. Taylor, is there anything else?
No, unless there are further questions, I'm happy to respond to any questions.
Mr. Chair, it's Jeremy.
Questions on the floor? Okay.
One question is just about the changes to the office and kind of the culture as kind of your work from home or your return back to the office is happening or progressing. I'm not sure what stage it is at right now, but what changes have you kind of made to the kind of the team and the environment?
Ryan led that team, so I will ask him to respond to the question.
Sure. So the staff continues to have the ability to work from home. The currently the plan allows for one management staff member and one for those of you who haven't visited our office, there's one large common area, and there is a second area down a hallway where there are individual offices. So the plan we have in place at the moment is that there could be one staff member in one area and one staff member in another. At the end of the month, we will have contractors in our office installing plexiglass barriers between and around the desks in the outer office area, allowing for more staff members to occupy that space in a distanced manner. So we will be able to have more staff in the office at that time.
Thank you.
Thanks, Ryan. That's great. And is there any, I mean, Taylor, Ryan, is there any plan to go beyond what you're currently doing? I mean, is there any time frame there yet?
Go ahead, Ryan.
Sure. So so yesterday in our staff meeting, we discussed that. Obviously, the need to the staff have been proving very productive remotely. If and when the need arises to come into the office, they have, specifically around the time when we had the activation in early August. And management has been in the office at various points throughout the last number of months as needed. I think the plan to return into the office will coincide with the volume of event activity that takes place on the square, and the need to use those in-office tools. But since the migration to using tools like Ungerbach and our online drafting program, the tools to be able to plan and manage events have allowed us to maintain that remote working stance at the moment.
Right. Okay. All right. That's great. Any other questions from the floor? Okay. Taylor, do you want to just close off the section with anything?
No, I'm good. Thank you, Mike.
Okay. All right. So that wraps up the general manager's report. Before we go in camera, I just want to note that Michael Forbes did join us. And Michael, I'm not sure what time you came on, but I did notice that you come on. So just for minuting purposes and quorum, that you have joined the call. I don't know if you have an estimated time you could let us know so we can put that into the minutes.
I think I arrived around 9:45.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks, Liz. If you could just note that in the minutes, that would be great.
Thank you, Michael.
And at this stage, what I'm going to suggest is that we now move into the in-camera session. We got 3 matters to deal with. So if there's nothing else to discuss in our regular meeting at this point, I'd like to propose a motion to close our regular board meeting. Can I ask for a motion to close the regular board meeting?
Stefan, you can.
Thank you. And someone to second that
Nick
motion?
seconds.
Thank you, Nick. All in favor? Any opposition or any abstentions? Okay, motion's carried. Thank you. So we'll now move in camera.
Sorry, it's Mike, it's Liz. I did not catch
I'd like to now propose a motion. Actually, I guess, Ryan, do you want to facilitate?
It was
yeah,
Nick.
Ryan, do you want to
it was
just,
Nick.
oh, sorry, Liz, do you have a question?
Nick was the seconder.
Thank
Nick was the
you.
seconder.
Sorry, yeah, it was
on that one. No problem.
Stefania, Nick.
Yes.
Ryan, do you want to facilitate the host to hand over with Andreas?
So I will at the moment move everyone into the in-camera session, and at the time when you guys are discussing the confidential manner, the staff team will move out of that into a separate digital space.
Okay, fair enough.
So you'll see that coming on.
I know
shortly.
you've got to do the security update first, right? In the event summary.
Yes.
Mr. Chair, while we're doing
Are you going to
that
be doing the
switch, is
security
it-
update, Ryan? Sorry, go ahead.
I think that's the best idea, Mike. Ryan has been present at all the meetings. Some of the genesis of the Bond Hotel circumstances
Yeah.
while I was on vacation.
Okay. All right, fair
So-
enough. Yeah, so Ryan, you're going to remain, the staff's going to remain for now until we move into the confidential agenda item?
Yep.
Okay, fair enough. So you're going to invite us to join the breakout room now?
Yes, you should have received an item on your screen.
I have.
Uh, So sorry, Nick and Inspector Matt Moyer are in the main meeting space and have not yet joined the
Success.
I don't know why, but I'm surprised that worked.
It did work.
Also
I'm
feels
happy
like
that
we
worked.
were in, you know, in the Jetsons or something. Well, some of you aren't old enough to know who that is, but yeah, it's kind of wild.
We are back.
Terrific.
Okay, we're back into the main room. There we go. And I hope you guys didn't finish all the coffee and donuts because I could really use another coffee.
I would love those with you.
Yeah, there you go. Okay, so let's just make sure. Let's just do a participant check here. So Taylor, Natalie. So we got Ryan, Andreas, Bob, Robin, Antonella, Jen, Jeremy, Liz, Michael, Natalie, Pat, Stefania, Taylor. Okay, so just an FYI that Nick Cadish did drop off at 11:30, but Taylor, we still have quorum by my count. So if you want to just do a double check to make sure that I wasn't incorrect in that.
Mike, Jan, Michael Forbes, Bob Raymond, Andreas, Jeremy, Stefania. Yeah, we're good.
That's what I thought. I counted 7.
Yeah.
So, okay, great. So I'd like to ask for a motion to go back in to resume our regular meeting. Could I have someone propose that motion?
I'll
Bob,
make
would you
that
like to do
motion,
that?
Jan.
Oh, Bob, would you like to second it?
I second.
Thank you, Bob. All in favor? Any abstentions or opposition? All right, well then we are back in our regular meeting. Okay, appreciate that. Just making notes here for a second. Okay, so we just have new business and adjournment. I had a couple of minor items that were part of a previous discussion, but I do want to mention it. But are there any other items for discussion that anyone else would like to add? Anything? Nothing? Okay. So a couple of things I just want to mention, and I think Matt has left the meeting, Matt Moyer. I mentioned this to the executive, but I'll just mention to the board, as part of the GM transition, I had spoken to Taylor and just said that I was going to start reaching out to some of our stakeholders, some board members and other partners, to let them know that, you know, we were going through the GM recruitment transition process, and also just to get some feedback on behalf of the executive. I thought that that was a prudent thing for us to do. Obviously, Taylor's got a ton of institutional knowledge, and he's going to help us in the transition. So one of the things that Taylor did in advance of the announcement of Taylor's retirement and us going out to market, he recommended that I get in touch with 5 of the senior city managers or senior executives at city agencies, one of whom was Sandra Rodriguez, who we all already work with at CMO. But I also spoke to Mike Williams at Economic Development. I spoke to Chris Murray, who's the city general manager, so I had good chats with them. And spoke to a few others. Also, Matt Moyer and I had a good chat. Ostensibly, it was about his recommendations and, you know, how he's been working, you know, arm's length with us on our safety, security issues and challenges, and obviously the work he's been doing with Ryan around that and with Garda as well. One of the recommendations he did make was that we should chat with Denise Campbell over at Ryerson, who is Michael Forbes' colleague, who heads up security there. And so I did do that. I had a call with Denise and Matt about a month ago, which was very, it was informative for me just to hear what's going on at Ryerson. I've obviously mentioned Denise right up front that obviously Michael is our representative on the board, and I know that they know each other, but obviously it was good for me to hear her perspective one-to-one. And that was part of the advance of that walk around on September 3rd that Ryan took part in around the Bond Hotel situation. So I think it's just good for us to have those contacts. The other one that Matt introduced me to was the SAFE group, which some of you may know. That stands for the South Area Facilities and Entertainment Group. It's, I think there's about 30 or 40 organizations and facilities on it, from the CN Tower to Ripley's to the Entertainment BIA. And they are an informal ad hoc group that meets once every other month. to talk about safety and security issues. So Matt thought it might be useful for YDS to be involved, and we may have been involved in the past. So I sat in on a meeting back in August. It's just an informal call where everyone provides a bit of an update. And I think going forward, it's a group that we should be involved in. So what I'm going to probably suggest, Taylor, Ryan, Natalie, is that Ryan, if you haven't participated in the past, or if you haven't in a while, I think you should be our representative moving forward. And I can copy you on the information that I got from the person who's chairing it right now. Just as again, another one of those groups out there that they didn't really know a lot about us. Of course, they knew who we are, but they didn't really know much about us or recently. So I think it would be good for us to participate informally moving forward. I think most of it is, they do have meetings in person, but right now it's being done by Zoom call. So
Certainly, I would be happy to.
Yeah, so I just wanted to let the board know that, we've done a bit of that. There are a few more people. Craig, obviously, today was one of those people that we would have spoken to, but with Taylor, obviously having been talking with Craig on a regular basis, I think it's good for us to get a better understanding of how they worked. And then the other meeting that I did have, which was Bob and I got together for a coffee about 6 weeks ago, and Bob it was the first coffee meeting I'd had with anyone downtown. So went down with Bob to his place at 10 Dundas, and we had a chat, and I invited Michelle Erskine from out front to come in. And so the three of us chatted and just talked about, YDS. Michelle had a chance to talk to Bob about her business and how they partner with us and vice versa. So again, we're just trying to open some doors and help bridge the transition from when Taylor departs to our new person coming in. So that's just for information. If anyone has any questions on it, I'm happy to answer it offline, but I just thought I'd let people know that, we've been sort of reaching out to keep people informed as to what we're doing. So
It's busy time, Mike, so thank you for making time to do that.
No, it's good information for us as well. And given that we're, going through the recruitment process, it's timely to do it at the same time. So, okay. So before I ask for an adjournment, I'll just say, are there any other items that anyone else would like to either comment on before we wrap up the meeting? Okay, great. Well, look, I just want to say thanks again for everyone's engagement and participation. I know we've all got, our day jobs and our personal lives, and it's an unusual time, but I also want to say, again, without being pedantic, thanks to the staff for keeping things moving ahead. I know it's a challenging time, and it's got to be very frustrating at times not to see traction when you're, putting you got a lot of irons in the fire, but we have to keep moving ahead. So thanks to the management team. I would also say to Taylor, Natalie, and Ryan, please pass along our thanks and support to the staff team. We did chat about them on the in-camera session, and hope they're all doing well and are here to provide our support if they need it. But please pass along our thanks. And obviously we'll have another executive meeting in advance of the next board meeting on the 29th. Jan will provide us an update on the recruitment process, and let's keep our fingers crossed for more nice fall weather so the patios can stay open and people will be downtown. And if anyone has any other comments, feel free to reach out to me anytime between now and October 29th. So with that, I'll ask for a motion to close the board meeting. Thank you, Bob.
Stefania can second.
Thank you, Stefania. And all in favor? Opposed or abstained? Thumbs up. And have a great rest of the week, and we'll chat with everyone soon. Take care.
Nice to see everyone.
Take
Thank you.
care.
Bye-bye.
Take care, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.